All right, you guys. This is a special episode 10 of Football Firm of Mind podcast. We are on our NFL stuff, man. We breaking it down. This will be the last episode of the NFC preseason breakdown. It's a great division, the NFC East, man. Used to be the NFC least about 10 years ago. But now the NFC East is full of beasts, man. Before we get into it, man, I was asked, how you doing?
We're doing good, man. I'm ready to start breaking down the East. It's definitely a very interesting topic.
Most definitely, most definitely. So we start off uh our show with the standings last year. So we'll
Mhm.
start with the Eagles, man. Obviously they won. And obviously Super Bowl runner up. But I know they striving for more, obviously. I think they got their answer to a couple questions going into last season, man. Last season, the question was Jalen Hurts, man, is he our guy? I believe they answered that. He answered that, and then they answered
Mhm.
how much you want by how much they paid him. So
Mhm.
I think he did some great things last year. So my thing is, what do you think the next step is as we break this down? What's the next step for Jalen Hurts? Because he's got the money, he played
Mhm.
real well, and he's a starting quarterback. So what's the next step for him?
I think it's kind of they're not the same player and they're not in the same boat, but I think it's kind of the Joe Burrow situation where you've got a guy that you want to be a franchise guy. Your quarterback and your team puts everything together to make it to the Super Bowl, where they have a legit chance to win the game. They just come up short. And I think this year, obviously, like you said, Jalen Hurts got paid. I think he earned that money. But I think this year he needs to prove two things. It's can you perform to the same level you did last year and get them back there? And two is can you perform the same level and earn the money that we just paid you? Because that's a lot of money. Now they've structured everything probably really good from what I've seen. But I think it's and they've had some key departures and additions as well. But can he put the pieces together and put the team on his back for another run? I mean, I think Philadelphia is definitely the favorite to come out of the NFC besides San Francisco. But yeah, I think it's all going to ride with him. I think the Eagles' defense is really good. Obviously, they probably got the best offensive line in football. Really good weapon. And I mean, Jalen Hurts he's continuing to develop at a really high rate. Obviously, he would if he's going to get paid like that. But yeah, I think it's all going to ride on him. I think he needs to prove that he's going to be able to play for that money, and he's going to have to prove that hey, can we make it back to the Super Bowl, or are we going to hit a roadblock, or we're going to have to figure it out.
Understandable, man. I all good points, man. All good points. That's like I said, that's why I asked the question, man, because I think he's gonna have to take a next step, man. Like it's cool to be the NFL, MVP runner up. It's cool to go to the Super Bowl and be the runner up, but I think he's in a good spot. Obviously, they paid him pretty well, so he's good there. So what's like what? How is he gonna grasp all of this? Because I think one thing about being the starting quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles is that the city got to be behind you. Like one
That's
thing,
going to make a difference.
yeah, every quarterback that's played for the Eagles, the city has been behind them. I'm just saying modern time. We're not talking back 50, 60 when NFL was still
Yeah.
growing, right? Because the following was still there, but wasn't there yet. I'm
Mhm.
talking about the
We're not
Randall
talking.
Cunningham.
We're not talking Ron Jaworski days. We're talking more modern than that.
Well, no, Ron Jaworski, they love some jaws there, man.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Kind of beginning at that point.
Yeah, they love some jaws there, man. Don't let the Philly fans hear you say that. They love jaws because he got them to their first Super Bowl. Tough loss,
Hmm
but he did get them to their first one. But yeah, Jaws, Randall Cunningham, McNabb, like a lot of great quarterbacks. They even love Michael Vick when he got
Oh,
there.
they love Vic.
You know what
Nick
I'm saying?
Foles.
Yeah, Nick Foles, they love him too. Carson Wentz, who? They don't even care about
Nah, they don't like to talk about that
I
one.
don't like Carson Wentz, bro. Not at all. But
hmm
but like I said, if the Philly fans get behind you, dog, They
Oh,
love
that
this
sky's
guy.
the limit.
Yeah, most definitely. I feel like that's a underlining factor in like whether they'll pay you what you're really worth.
Oh
And
yeah.
fans love you. Like
If
it's
you're
not like
a
something that
great,
it's not something tangible that you can really like put your hands on, but it's like
but you
back of
can.
your mind, like, damn, like they really love this guy. Let's keep him on the team, man. Keep fans interested,
Mhm,
man. If we can keep him there, like just one of those marketing tools, man, that keep the
mhm.
fan base interested. So I think their owner has a really good feel for the fans and what they want. And I think them locking down Jalen was definitely important, man, because they put together a great season, man. They were really rolling. Even when they lost
Mhm.
their first game last year, I was
It
like,
wasn't even. Nobody was even worried about it. It's like, you know what? Like, don't even
like,
sweat it.
all right, now you don't have to worry about going undefeated. Now you can just focus on
Mhm.
playing good ball. And they really didn't miss a beat for the rest of the year. Going to the playoffs, doing their thing, man, going all the way to the Super Bowl. So I like their offense. I like their defense. I like everything they doing, man. I think losing Miles Sanders is a big loss, but I do think that you can just plug and play in that type of offense, man. You can put any running back there and
They
succeed
got
with
a good
Jalen.
one in exchange, dude. They brought in Swift, and if he could stay healthy, he'll definitely be a really good fit for them. For
And
sure.
he's a hometown kid too, because he's from Philly.
Exactly. He fits the mold. He fits the offense, and he fits the narrative of what they go for.
And he's a different option than Miles Sanders is. Miles
Like
Sanders is
he's
more,
probably one of the best catching tailbacks in the league.
yeah. Don't
Easy.
get me wrong, Miles
Very
Sanders is
underrated.
a good one. Miles Sanders is
Yeah,
good running back.
but Swift is
But
very underrated
yeah, Swift is like
when he's
he
healthy.
just yeah, like he's just nice. He gives them an element I don't think they had last year in the running game. Somebody that can just
Mm-hmm.
be a quick twitch kind of guy and make
Mm-hmm.
moves and everything. So I agree. I think he's gonna be good. So like I said, I'll take the next team on the list in the standings last year was the Cowboys, a playoff team, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But um so many questions, man. Like my question, like I said, I was gonna get into in another episode is what else, Dak? What else? What
What
else?
else do you need?
What else do you need, man? I've given you Zeke, I've given you Amari Cooper, I've given you great defenses, I've given you all kind of stuff, man. I've given you everything you need to move forward, to win a championship, man. We've
They
had
gave him a
countless.
defense too.
I didn't even get to defense yet. I've given
That's what I'm
you
saying.
a great defense. I've given you countless Pro Bowlers, countless everything, and what else, man? You are the missing link to what we need. Like everything else comes from you.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else. So what else do you need? How can we help you succeed? What is it? What else? Is it mentally? Is physically? We've taken away the run so you don't hurt yourself anymore. So now it's all about you and your throwing ability. So what else do you need? And that's the key to them winning, how Dak plays. I think that's it. I think he's that's the key to them winning and winning however many games they do. I just don't think they have enough to compete with the Eagles consistently. So they're
Mm-hmm.
basically fighting for second place in this division this year. And
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna be second, third, or fourth. And it's all gonna depend on whether Dak plays well.
True.
So that's all I got on the Cowboys. Like I mean, they got a great defense, and that's like really good. Like they're like at least top 10 defense in the league, arguably. They got really good players, especially on the defensive line. They got some animals down there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all about Dak, man. That's the biggest question of the year coming in. Like give you this money that I personally don't think he deserved. I don't think he deserved top five quarterback money, just because it's just not there in the big games. Like you can do 4,000 passing yards because that's easy to do nowadays. Like, but where's the wins? Where's the playoff wins? Like, I just
Mm-hmm.
don't. I don't get it. But yeah, that's it, man. I can't really do that. we're talking about the Cowboys, man. You got anything to add on the Cowboys, bro?
Yeah, so I'm gonna probably agree with you. I mean, obviously they cut Zeke. You're gonna roll with Tony Pollard. They brought in Ronald Jones as a good second option, which I like Ronald Jones. I think
I
he's
do
pretty
too.
good. Dallas's defense is bringing back a lot of good guys. They bring in Dante Fowler. I'm pretty sure that's going to help them get pressure on the quarterback too. Uh, Man, like Dallas is a wild card to me because, like you said, it's going to come down to how he plays. I like Dak as a person. I think he's a good player. I don't think he's worth top 5 quarterback money. That's no knack on him, but I mean, dude, you've got CD, you've got Michael Gallup, you lost Dalton Schultz. He went up the street to Houston now. You don't have him. I'm pretty sure they drafted a guy. But man, and we're gonna get into the Giants here right after this, but this is Mike McCarthy's make or break year. I can see him staying if they don't win the division, but if they make the playoffs and they don't win a playoff game, he's probably gone. Now, before this year, or before Sean Payton went to Denver, I was a strong believer that, he's on the hot seat. They're going to cut Mike McCarthy if they have a bad season. They're going to bring Sean in. That didn't happen. But I still think Mike McCarthy's on the hot seat. I'm sorry. You have a really, really good team. I know Dallas has got a knack for not winning playoff games, even going back to Tony Romo days. But, yeah, I think it's going to come down to Dak. You need him to make plays in crunch time, man. And when the fourth quarter, when you need a money drive and you need your quarterback to put it together, is Dak going to do that? And I think that money they paid him, they're still banking off of his rookie season, how good he looked. But I don't see it happening. I think the division's a lot tougher than what people are going to act like. And we're going to get into the other two teams here shortly. But, yeah, I think Dallas has got an awesome roster, better defense than offense. But if he can't put it together in the playoffs or in the fourth quarter, they're guaranteed maybe a playoff spot if they're lucky. If not, then they're not going any further than a wild card spot. I don't see them winning this division.
Okay. All right. So here's my thing, dog. Like, all right, if I'm looking at Dak Prescott, right? And one of the things that bothers me so much is that, like, in these big games, they get behind so much. And then
they never come out hot. They always start out flat.
Right. And then, like, all right, then we're these people like Skip Bayless, where they're like, oh man, Dak sucks, he's this and that, right? And then they make this raging comeback or come close to coming back. And then it's like, oh man, yeah, Dak is awesome, right? He's great.
Yeah.
Win. And I'm looking at these people and I'm like, what are y'all really looking at? Like,
y'all shouldn't be in that situation to start with.
Yeah, like, are we looking at a guy that is good or a guy that is good at cleaning up his own messes?
Yeah, that's a really good analogy. I like that.
That's what I'm worried about.
You shouldn't get credit for cleaning up something if you're mostly responsible for being in that situation. Dallas is too good of a roster to be in that situation.
Exactly, man. This isn't the first time Dallas has had a great team. It's not the first time, man. Over the course of since their last championship in '95, they've had many great teams. Many.
Like that 13-3 team when they had T.O. That team probably should have went all the way, and they found a way to choke that one away.
Yep.
That's a prime example.
So yeah, man, like that. Like I said, man. But I think a future question should be like, when does Stephen Jones tell his dad, yo, it's time to get out the way? When do you tell Pops, yo, it's my time to do this GM thing? You can be the man at the top of the door. This is your team.
Let me make the decisions.
But let me make the decisions, man. And I wish the Raiders would have done that a little bit sooner than with Al Davis. I wish the son would have said, yo, it's time for me to take over football operations. You know what I'm saying?
But I'd much rather Al Davis than Mark Davis.
Man, I do too, baby. I love just win, baby. Just win.
That's what I'm saying.
I love that, man.
But I do agree with you. I think they're only going to go as far as Jerry lets them, and he's been a big driving force why they've struggled.
it's too much. He has too much say so in on the field things, which is
Exactly.
why the fracture happened between him and Jimmy
When
Johnson
Jerry,
anyway.
yep. Mm-hmm. And that's where it
So
all started, right there.
and when they had Jason Garrett as the guy, he was never able to really put his stamp on the team because he was only in that position because Jerry Jones allowed him to be there. And
Exactly.
one thing that I knew stuck a fork in Jason Garrett's tenure with the Cowboys was when Felix Jones was benched by Jason Garrett. Not going to play at all, and he was benched. And everybody knew that in the news media, but he showed up on kickoff return anyway. That's when I knew Jason Garrett didn't have no control over the team.
And that sucks, man.
And I knew that team was never going to win anything else because Jerry Jones is just too much control over
The same
on.
thing when they had Wade Phillips. Same
Yep.
thing.
Yep, and they had a good team with Wade. They had a good team with Bill Parcells. He was building
Yeah.
that team up too.
You can only go as far as Jerry's going to hold the leash.
Yeah,
And until he gets out the way, they're not going to.
Yeah, so yeah, I just think that's the team. They could finish second, third, or fourth, but it depends on Dak, and it depends on what Jerry Jones want to do, man. So those two things, man. But moving on to the third team who actually made the playoff is the Giants, man. The Giants did some great things last year. But my question to you was, what was last season to you? Was it a flash in the pan, or is it something sustainable?
I think I like Brian Daboll.
I
I
do
think
too.
he's a key contributor to why Josh Allen is who he is. Because you got to think when Josh Allen was coming out of Wyoming, they're like, okay, well, this guy's got a lot of raw talent, but he just can't seem to hone it. So when he went to Buffalo the first couple of years, it's like, this guy's got a really strong arm, but like, what can he do? And he helped mold him and build him into the guy that he is nowadays. So I mean, I'm a firm believer in him. And honestly, before last season, I wasn't bought at Daniel Jones at all. I thought that was a horrible pick. I felt like they could have done a lot better with picking him. But I'll be honest with you, Dayball must have went in and really turned around overnight because, man, Saquon was healthy last year, and that offense clicked. For the first time in like 3 or 4 years, that offense worked. The defense played well. They played good football on both sides of the ball. I don't think it's a flash in the pan. I don't think the Giants are obviously on the same level as the Eagles or the Cowboys. But, man, like with the additions, I mean, you trade for Darren Waller. You bring back your good receivers. You bring in Jameson and Paris Campbell. The Giants are in an interesting spot. And I think they're definitely in contention for that number 2 spot. I think Brian Daboll's got them on the right track. I think they're in the right direction. They're at a rise, I guess you'd say. They're going up. Yeah, I don't think it's a flash in the pan. I think he's establishing a culture, and I think it happened a lot quicker than what most people would have thought. I don't think a lot of people thought that he was going to be able to turn Daniel Jones around. But I'm going to be honest with you. If Saquon sits out the whole year, that's going to be interesting to see, okay, is the offense going to still roll as operational right now? Or are we going to take a step back and be like, okay, like we can still move the ball, but not to the same degree as if we had Saquon? Because Saquon's a key contributor on that offense. And if he's not there, we don't know if they're going to perform the same way.
Yeah. So that was a part of my talking points. Is Saquon's contract situation, right? Like I know we both discussed running back by committee, man, and it's awesome, right? But when you're lucky enough to have a guy that can do all of the things that you need a running back to do, you need to lock him up, man. And I think what's hurting this situation is the availability. And like I said, I'm not in the know about this contract thing, but I would love to know what kind of dollar amount he's looking for. Because if I'm Saquon, I'm being honest about what it is that's going on. Obviously, you don't want to be lowballed. You want to make good money. You want to make good money. I think he deserved to be top 10 running back in the league money wise, right? Because of his talent alone. Now, if we're talking about I want to be the highest paid running back, that's where I can't agree with you when you're going into
Because your injury
negotiations
history.
right there, because your injury history is too checkered for me to do that. I need to have, I need as the GM and owner, I need to have some leverage in that particular conversation. So I can't give you everything you want, but I can make you the top 10 highest paid running back, and
Yeah.
that's the guarantee. The question is that what he's gonna want to do? Because
Yeah.
you can go somewhere else and be the guy and be paid like that. But how much time do you think you have on the football field with your injury history? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And in that position, your shelf life is very short because you're one hit away. Everybody is one hit away from not playing anymore. And now we're looking stupid giving you all this money. You know what I'm saying? Sort of like how Zeke is or was. We give him
Alvin.
all this money.
They don't want to buy. They don't want to pay all
And,
that money, and then something happened that declined.
and exactly, and your play is declining. That's not a good look. You know what I'm saying? Like we give you this money, and instantly your play just goes down. So that's what one of my things for the Giants. You know what I'm saying? Is that has to be done before anything happens in the season, because Saquon is such a good player, such a great talent that you can't look at it and just say, oh well, we don't need him, because
No,
he's
that's
not,
not.
it's not the same guy. No. This ain't a guy you can bring in and say, oh well, I'm gonna get 3 of him. Nah,
No,
bro. That's one
you
Saquon.
need that's the offense rolls when him and Jones play. He took so much off of freaking Daniel Jones. It helped him open up and be a better player. When you have a tailback like that, it opens your offense up. If you don't have that, there's nobody else on that team or sitting in free agency, besides maybe a Dalvin Cook, that could help you like that. Because if you don't have that, your offense is going to be one-dimensional, and I don't know if you're going to have the same success. And I don't know if you're going to turn around and win 9 games again this year. You know?
Not without Saquon, you're not.
That's what I'm
Shit,
saying. You're going to drop
they
a couple
won
of
they
games if
won
you
that
like
game
that.
in they won that game in London because of Saquon, because Saquon was in a wildcat a few times. Like literally, and then Saquon had like 70 yards receiving or something like that. But he was doing everything at the running back position, including being a wildcat quarterback. So, which is crazy because he just came off an ACL injury or something like that. So
And he
crazy
showed
too.
out.
And he still balled out, right? So that's
He,
my thing.
it's
You're
not,
gonna have to look at, yeah, you're gonna have to look at Saquon as, you know, what it is. He's a great player and you need him. But the question is, does he know how much he really needs the team? Because he's going to have to decide what dollar amount he really wants to really be a part of something great. Because I think,
yeah.
I don't know if they can eclipse the Eagles, but I do know that they're fighting for second or third. I don't think they're going to be last or whatever.
No.
And then, like I said, speaking of the last point on the Giants is we talk about Daniel Jones and his growth last season, and then we talk about Saquon and his issues, and we talk about the receivers or whatever, which I think Kadarius Toney, him getting off the team, I thought was a major lift.
Oh, that was the biggest L for them. And now he goes to a team where he can just thrive in a wide open offense.
No, that's not my point. That's not my point. My point, not the point that he left and then they whatever, right? No.
Yeah.
My point is he was a cancer in the locker room because he wanted to play.
Yeah.
And I thought him getting out of the way kind of allowed them to kind of grow a little bit, because it's like that cancer in the locker room, somebody all upset all the time, can just bring down a team, man.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that.
Or a position group, man. So Obviously, I think they got Kenny Galladay. He wasn't
I
playing
think
either.
they cut him.
Yeah, right. So yeah, exactly. He wasn't really playing.
He wasn't playing to that money.
Right. Once you get rid of a guy like that, that's not only bringing down the locker room morale, but not even contributing on the field, I think that helps a lot of people grow. But one part of the field that we're not talking about is their defense, man. They have some really good young defenders on their team that I really like. I want to see grow. Kayvon Thibodeau, I think he's going to be
He's a
uh,
freaking freak, bro. That dude.
he's the next great defensive lineman from the Giants.
Yeah.
They've had a lot of them, and I think he's the next great one. And I love Xavier McKinney. I love him. He was great at Bama, not just a homer, but I think he was so awesome for their defense last year. I love what Wink Martindale is doing there. He's obviously my defensive coordinator from Baltimore a couple years ago, and he had our defenses playing wonderfully. I loved him for that. I hated how he went there, but he was trying to boss up, man. He wants a head coaching job. So the best way to do that is to go somewhere else and win. And he's doing that with their defense. So I'm looking forward to seeing how many steps they take forward between last year and this year. To see how they grow. Because I think them trading for Leonard Williams in that middle was huge.
Dude, Leonard Williams is very underrated.
Huge. Think about that. Like I thought him and Quentin Williams in the Jets, I thought that would have been a great duo. But him and Thibodeau on that lineman, oh man, that's gonna be sick.
That's nasty.
Years to come. Yeah, exactly. So like I said, I know Wink runs a 3-4, so all you need is another guy. Leonard Williams can handle that middle, and
Yeah,
Thibodeau
two guys on the edge.
you just need one more dude, one more animal in there. So I think they'll be good, man. I think they're definitely fighting for second or third. I don't think they'll finish last. But the team that finished last in that division was the Commanders, man. Sorry if I slip up and say Redskins. No offense.
I think we both personally say we probably rather that name anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just hard to say sorry, but the Commanders finished last, and it wasn't by much. But you can't have 4 teams in the conference or in the division getting the playoffs. But if they could, that would have been the year. Because they definitely had a better season than the Buccaneers did. So, but my question for you is Sam Howell the answer?
I really like Sam Howell. I do. Just like how I liked when Heineke was there, I think he's going to get a good first start with Atlanta. But if we're just talking about Howell, I think he's got a lot of the intangibles that you need in a quarterback. I mean, he was really good at – he's coming from Mac Brown in North Carolina. And Mac Brown knows how to push out some really good quarterbacks. Obviously, we got Drake May now. But I think Howell has a lot to prove. I think Ron Rivera is a good coach, but he's got good weapons. He's got Brian Robinson as his tailback. He's got Scary Terry, one of the best receivers in the game. But man, and he's got Curtis Samuel too. But man, Washington's in a tough spot because they don't know who they are, and you don't know whether they're about to go into a rebuild or not. They're still shopping Chase Young right now. There's still rumors that they're going to trade him before the season starts. I mean, I think any team led by Ron Rivera, it's going to be a good team. Even if it doesn't always show in the stats or show in the record, I think Washington's still going to – they've got a really good defensive front. Their defense is still really good. I think Sam Howell's going to have a good year. But is it going to get overshadowed by how many wins they get? Like if they – let's just say they pull out 6 or 7 wins. They won 8 last year. If they pull out 6 or 7, are they going to say, okay, we're going to invest in you. We're going to try to keep putting people around you. Or is Washington going to be like, we're going to try to pack a couple of these guys in for some draft picks, and we're going to try to move into the top 10 or top 5 maybe and try to take one of those QB prospects because they've got at least 3 or 4 guys that, could go in the first round next year. I think he'll have a good year. I think he's got good weapons. Hopefully the offensive line performs well for him. I think he's got a lot of good intangibles. Like I've seen a lot of guys rank all 32 QBs, and they've had him in dead last. And I don't think that that's very fair or very
No.
realistic. I think Sam Howell showed he had limited playing time, but I think he's shown that he can play. I think he's a good quarterback. Do I think that he's the answer? Possibly, but I think it's just how the rest of the team plays around him. I think he can get it done. Obviously, I'm sorry, even if things go their way, DC is going to finish in fourth. I think the big discussion is whether second place is going to be Dallas or the Giants. But that fourth place spot could be a second or third place spot in some of these other divisions we've talked about.
Yeah.
I think the Commanders are going to finish fourth, but I don't think it's going to be solely on Sam Howell and his play.
All right, so that's my that was actually one of my talking points. I really have that many for the Commanders because I kind of knew what kind of team they're gonna have, but I know they had a couple questions at quarterback. Obviously last episode or when we were talking about our closing arguments, I thought that Heineke was still there, but no, he's in Atlanta. So but that was one of my talking points. How is Sam Howell gonna play? But the question is defense, man. I think for Ron Rivera's time in Washington, their defense has been top 15 for that time. So do they continue to be solid? Because that's one of the best parts of their defense. Their team, they just need to score more. And that was the problem last year with Wentz and Heineke. You can't figure out which one you want to go with. But having them shop Chase Young is not a good thing. I know they didn't pick up his fifth option for the 5th year, but I do think that he's in a prove it year, and I think he's going to prove them to be right. He's a big part of their defense, and to have him back full strength, I think will be awesome. I expect them to have some growing pains coming back from a knee injury like that, but I do expect him to be at least effective, at least out there making plays. So, and one thing that people aren't really paying attention to is that this is a team under new management. I don't know if
they got a new offensive coordinator too.
New offensive coordinator, yeah, but I'm talking about the top.
Dan Snyder's gone.
Yeah, Dan Snyder's gone, which has been an era of we'll say bad investments. We'll say that bad investments in terms of big contract players that haven't amounted to anything. Adam Archuleta comes to mind.
Albert Hainsworth
comes to mind. Some really bad investments when it comes to players and everything. Now I get it. You want to spend money and it's great. I know it is. It's awesome, but you have to. I definitely don't like how it was bullied into changing the name. I don't think it was meant to be disrespectful. I don't think it was meant to do anything like that, especially when we're looking at teams like the Blackhawks in hockey, or we're looking at the Cleveland Indians in baseball. Like, I just think the name was just a name for a team. And I feel like that wasn't the biggest thing. So the fact that the team is under new management, a new ownership group, I think it's going to bring in a new set of fans, and it's going to bring in a new focus on winning. Because I feel like they kind of got stagnant after those Super Bowls they had in the 80s and 90s, and they really haven't had teams that were really going to win anything. Like, they've had playoff teams, but that's literally kind of felt like their goal for their franchise is just get to the playoffs.
Just try to stay relevant.
Yeah, let's just try to stay relevant. And that's not the Redskins. I grew up with the Redskins we know now that stay relevant. But that's not the way my grandpa grew up with the Redskins when they was winning Super Bowls and stuff. So like I said, I think they need to go back to that. I know one thing they did back in the day was run the ball. And I think Ron Rivera is going to get back to that. I love Brian Robinson there, coming back after being shot. He did his thing, man. He did real good last year. So I know they got a good guy in the backfield. So yeah, like I said, I think they finished fourth. But I think, and if all things come together, the best they'll finish is probably third, because I don't think you can put them over the Eagles at any point. The Eagles would have to completely collapse. And
Yeah.
I don't think you can put them over. I don't think you put them over the Giants either. So I think it would have to be fighting for third with the Cowboys. Because
Yeah.
I think though that's the team that has the biggest question mark in that whole division is the Commanders and the Cowboys. Because even with Saquon Barkley's contract situation, I think they'll work that out. I don't think they're that far apart.
I don't think it's a Le'Veon Bell situation.
Yeah, I think he just wants to know his worth and see what he can make. I don't think it's that big a deal. But I think if push came to shove, I think he'll stay, and he'll definitely stay for a good chunk of change. But as far as the Commanders and the Cowboys, they have the biggest questions, and their question is at quarterback. Like that's it. So I think those two would definitely be fighting for the third and fourth. But tough division, and the loser of this division is probably not going to be in the top 10 of the draft. That's for sure. They're going to
Mm-hmm.
be top 15, which in terms of getting a good player, I don't know. I don't think you're gonna get a impact player that low in the first round. You might get a project player, but somebody that you're gonna bank on to win. I don't think you're gonna do that. But never know. Like I said, scouting is scouting, man. But definitely got the Eagles won. I think the Giants finished second, and the Cowboys are third, and Commanders are fourth. That's kind of how I'm rocking this year.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what I've got. I'm more sold on what New York's got going on. And like I think we already agreed, it all depends if Saquon plays. If Saquon plays, I think they're gonna pick up right where they left off. And the fact that they got a Pro Bowl tight end, yeah, it's gonna help the offense even more.
Man,
The
dude, I don't
defense
think
is good.
nobody
They're
talk
bringing
about
back
how good Waller is,
they're
man.
bringing back their receivers, and then they're adding good depth at receiver.
I
And
just
you get
want,
the Pro Bowl tight end, like I
yeah,
think it's really gonna help.
yeah. I just think I want him to just continue his sobriety journey, stay sober, stay ready, and just continue to ball out. I think he is he's probably top five in tight ends in the league right now.
Oh yeah,
Like
I would agree.
I think obviously you got Travis Kelsey, you obviously got George Kittle, you obviously got Mark Andrews, and that fourth and fifth spot, you gotta put Waller up there. He's at least in the top four, and then you throw in somebody else like Hawkinson from I
Minnesota.
think Minnesota, right? You throw him in there. Throw the other different guys in there. Kyle Pitts, you can throw him in there. But I mean,
Yeah.
as far as definitive dudes that can
Yeah.
affect the game,
Wallace definitely in the same conversation. He just hasn't been in the league as long as like a Kelsey or a George Kittle or something. But
yeah. So I think, like I said, I do believe he's gonna be awesome for them. I expect him to have 1,000 yards next year, or pretty
oh
damn
yeah,
close.
it's just another shiny toy for them to play with, and I think it'll
Yeah,
definitely help their
man.
offense.
Definitely. He gonna eat up some stuff, man. Like I said, that Eagles Giants game is definitely one to watch this year. Both of them.
I think he'll torch the Cowboys.
I think so too. I don't know if they
I
have an answer
really
for him.
think like they have good corners, but I definitely think the Eagles will cover him a hell of a lot better than the Cowboys. I could definitely see him going for a $150 for sure.
I do too. I do too. I think like I said, I just think if Dak doesn't play very well, that whole team is gonna crumble.
The
Because
the morale of the team is gonna roll with how he plays. If he plays like crap, the morale is gonna be crap. But if he
Yeah,
balls
because
out,
they've already been chirping about like, well, shit, the defense playing good. So what about the quarterback? You know what I'm saying? Just a little bitty things
it's
like
gonna come to a head. It's gonna come to a head this season. What they're gonna do with Dallas if he doesn't perform up the snub, that's definitely gonna be a conversation we're gonna have. But at the same time, Jerry Jones is still there, so we don't know what is to come with this situation.
Unfortunately, yeah. So I don't know what to do, but like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if they start sucking if Mekhi Parsons starts to talk, because he's been one of the most outspoken players. Like, maybe not really pointing a finger at Dak, but definitely letting them know, like, yo, we out
Hey,
here
we're not here to
balling on
lose.
defense. We done kept you in some games and you done threw us away. So you got to fix this stuff, or like we just gonna start turning against you. And you don't want that, man. That could really put the team in a bad place. And Jerry
Yeah, and
Jones
then
have to make a move.
everybody's gonna want out, and
Yeah.
you don't want that, because then you're probably gonna lose everybody.
Yep. And once you lose a team as a head coach from within, like, that's over. You're done. You can't even get the team back. They're gonna tone you out because you can't make any decisions without Jerry Jones. That's exactly what happened with Jason Garrett. The team toned him out because he couldn't make no decisions without Jerry Jones. So they went past him to go to Jerry Jones because they knew he couldn't really do anything. So, like I said, and that's crazy to say, but that's just how it goes there, I guess.
That's how it rolls in Dallas, man.
Yeah.
That's only one way in, only one way out.
Yeah. So, like I said, we closed down this segment, man. Very good segment, some very good points, man. The NFC East is going to be really good this year again. Then we move into our favorite segment, our top 5 segment that we try to finish every show with. Great conversation, great list, and we're going to talk about the NFC East best defensive players of all time. Man, we have some
You
great.
said defensive backs, correct?
No. I was just going defenders. I thought
Oh
we
shit!
were.
Well, I'll be DBs.
I thought we was
It'll be
going
all right.
defenders. I thought we was
It's all
going
right.
defenders, man. That's all
It's
right.
okay.
That's all
It's
right,
okay.
man. That's all right. That's cool, because now I got a list, and now you gonna have a list. It might look completely different.
Yeah,
So
I got you. That's kind of cool, anyway.
So right. So best defenders in NFC East history. I'm gonna go. I'll start since I had the list already. Now I'll start. So honorable mentions. I'm gonna say Eric Allen from Philadelphia. I think he had like 50 interceptions for his career. He was definitely one of the best corners on the '90s Eagles. Definitely great team. Great team. Great team. I think they should have won a Super Bowl. Their defense was that good. But like I said, things happen. But hey, he was definitely on my list. Honorable mention number 2 is also with the Eagles. Jerome Brown. Sadly, he passed away before he could really harness the monster that he was. But before he passed, he was definitely on the way up. And his teammate on the other side of that line with him is high on my list as well. But I think Jerome Brown, if he would have been able to live to see his full potential, he would have been one of the best defensive tackles probably to ever play. But sad story, but definitely one of the best players. But since we're going with guys that had short careers, number 5 on my list is Sean Taylor. I feel like I wanted to put some other established guys, but I think people don't understand the sheer star power that Sean Taylor was about to embark on. Like, he was top 3 in Defensive Player of the Year that last year before he died. And I believe he was going to really be the best safety to ever play the game.
He's in that same conversation with Ed Reed and Palomalu.
Bruh,
if he plays the whole time.
And in some cases, he was better than both of them. Like, you could make an argument about him being better at that particular time than both of them. I wouldn't be mad if you put Ed Reed up there, and I'm a Ravens fan. I wouldn't be mad if you put Palomalu up there, and I hate the Steelers. But Sean Taylor was just as good at everything that they did, maybe even better. And I think if he would have had a chance to live just a little longer, I think he would have been able to take over. That mantle has been the league's best safety. He was definitely on his way. But number 4, I can't make a list without a Cowboy, man. Bob Lilly, man. Bob Lilly for the Cowboys back in like I think the 70s was a beast. Like he clowned back then. Like he was almost unguardable. Him and Too Tall Jones, all them dudes, Hollywood Henderson, they was out there
That was
playing defense. They was out there beating people up on defense, and it was fun to watch those highlights because they really played defense back then, man, and they were just balling, man. And him in the center of that defense was very important, man. I don't think they win a lot of games without him being the leader he was, and he was a great locker room guy, and I can't go wrong with that at all, man. He's a good dude, man. So definitely Cowboys legend Bob Lilly. Number 3 on my list is Michael Strahan, bro. How you have a list without the sack leader? He just consistency. People don't really talk about how good he was, how consistent he was for so long. I think he almost never had a year under 10 sacks. But he's the sack leader. However you feel like he got it, Brett Favre gave it to him or whatever. He still got it. Don't matter. And he did his thing. And he finished off his career with a Super Bowl, man. Obviously went to one against my Ravens when he was with the Giants. But he finished his career with one, a part of one of the greatest upsets in NFL history. So, but he was a main component of that team and kept them believing that they could make a run, and he did. Great TV personality now, great off the field, but on the field, straight monster. Number 2 on my list is Lawrence Taylor, LT. Talk about one of the premier pass rushers in the entire NFL history. I'm talking about no matter who you talk about. I even love to put Bruce Smith in there, but pass rushing started with LT. LT means left tackle because without him, your left tackle is not important. He terrorized people's left tackle. I'm telling you, he terrorized people left tackle, right tackle, whatever. But left tackle was important because of LT. And if you ain't have one, your quarterback
was screwed.
Toast. Yep. Toast. Black as me. Toast. Done. LT, number 2 on my list. And number 1 is Reggie White, man. I feel like he was definitely
next level.
One of the best defenders ever, man. I think if he could have just came into the league without going to the USFL for a little bit, I think he would have came in balling, man. I love his game. He was a good man, a God-fearing man. But on Sundays, he was all devil. He was out here taking souls, man. But he was he was a great defender, man. Those Eagles teams of the 90s. And then he went left with the Packers and still was kind of one of their important pieces of winning that Super Bowl against the Patriots in '96, I believe. So yeah, he was very important on defense, man. I think you want a dominant defensive lineman. Look at Reggie White's film, man. He was powerful, man. Like he was so powerful. But he really was a force to be reckoned with for at least 15 years. And he did his thing, man. So it's my top 5 list, man. Sean Taylor, Bob Lilly, Michael Strahan, Lawrence Taylor, and Reggie White. That's my list.
So obviously we had a miscommunication. So you're going to get 2 top 5 lists today. You picked defenders. I must have just misheard the message, but I've got defensive backs, which I think is really another really good place to go.
Yeah, I'm interested to see it, man, and hear it because defensive back would probably be tough too because there's a whole lot of defensive backs in the NFC East that was good.
So honorable mention, I've got Sean Taylor. I just think he just needed a little bit more, but obviously an innovator of the safety position. Heavy hitter, great in coverage, great ball skill. I mean, there's so many things that you could say about him. He was just awesome, ahead of his time. If he did get to play his entire career, he's probably on top of Ed Reed and Troy Polamalu. That's a very good conversation to be in. Right. One of the greatest safeties ever. If you're in that conversation, for sure.
Right, but the fact that you pass away and you're still
in that conversation.
Still, like at the time you pass away, you were top 3. and it was
Mm-hmm.
arguably that you were better than both of them. So
Still
that's
young. So, rest in peace. We love Sean Taylor here, but
all good. That's fair. That's fair.
my top five, I think, damn, I might have left out two teams. There's just so many good DBs. But at number five, I got Champ Bailey when he was at
Okay.
Washington.
Yeah.
Most people, myself included, love Champ Bailey, but most people, myself included, don't even remember him with the Redskins because he was just a perennial Pro Bowler with the Broncos. I mean, one of the best defensive backs of the 2000s, hands down. Great cover corner, great ball skills. I love Champ Bailey, but being 5 years, he had damn near almost 20 interceptions in 5 years. He was great, but he was still obviously working out some of the kinks. And when he went to the Broncos, he just went to another level. So yeah, I've got Champ Bailey as top five.
But like my only thing was for Champ Bailey was how about how he got to the Broncos though? The
Mm-hmm,
trade for Clinton Portis. Like there are rare trades that are for player. And that
mm-hmm.
was one of them. Clinton Portis was
And
so
Clinton
good.
Portis is a beast in his own right.
Yeah, Clinton Portis was nice. But if I was them, I wouldn't have traded for Clinton Portis because Champ
Mm-hmm.
Bailey was just that good. And the
He
only
was
reason
that good
I didn't
for a
put
long
Champ
period of time.
Bailey on my list was because a lot of these guys affected their team winning between
Mm-hmm,
wins and losses. And Champ
mm-hmm,
Bailey, as good as he was, didn't really affect the game in terms of wins and losses
mm-hmm,
because no matter how good he played, the defense still gave up points. And the
mm-hmm,
offense still didn't do no scoring. But he was
mm-hmm.
damn
I
good.
agree.
He was damn good though.
So at number four, I've got Asante Samuel with the Eagles. Although he was only there 4 years, finished with 23 picks. Dude, he was an automatic plug and play in there with all those guys, man.
I
Like,
loved him. Oh yeah, I
man, a
love
lot of
him.
people remember him with the Patriots, and he was on some of those Patriots teams too. But man, in 4 years, the man made an impact on that defense with,
Oh yeah,
and they
Sante
got
was
another
nice.
guy from that team on this list. But man, he was just a great cover corner. He's always around the ball, knows how to break it up, man, knows how to cover, man. He's a lockdown. Probably doesn't get enough talk, but man, Asante Samuel is my top four.
Most definitely. I agree with that.
I've at number three, I've got Ken Houston from Washington.
Oh yeah. Claim him,
Spent
yeah.
8 years. Spent 8 years in Washington.
He got like 60
49
picks, huh?
interceptions.
Oh yeah,
He
okay. I'm
had
about to say,
49 picks,
yeah.
but at one point in the 71 season, had 9 picks in 1 year. God just, dude, if you go look up his solo tackles, his interceptions, his pass breakups, man, he's always around the ball. Really good key contributor in a time where I don't think people were really talking about Washington like that in the early 70s. But man, he spent a long time there, and man, he was just consistently good for them year in and year out.
Yeah, it's another
Now,
safety. It's another safety that don't get no love. Paul Krause. Paul Krause got the most interceptions.
he 81 picks.
Yeah, like
But he
he
just
don't
didn't spend as much time. He just didn't spend as much time with Washington. He really came out when he went with Minnesota. That's where he really started to shine. Oh, but
true.
he's a bomb. He's a freaking beast, bro. Really good Hall of Fame safety.
Yeah.
Uh, at number two, I'm going with Darryl Green. 20 years with Washington. Didn't play for anybody else. Guy finished his career with 72 interceptions. Man, stats don't lie. You don't even have to watch a highlight tape. This guy, loyal, stayed with the same team his entire career. Man, just a ball hawk. Great
Got some
player,
rings
always around the
too.
ball. He did win those rings with Washington. Really
Yep.
good committed player. One of the key contributors to them winning Super Bowls when they did. I've got Darryl Green at number two.
All right, cool.
And number one, he's probably one of my favorite players for growing up. I got Brian Dawkins at one.
Okay.
Man,
All right.
what he could do for that defense, he was the glue guy for that Eagles defense. Even when they weren't talking about how good that defense was with him and Lito Shepard, with Asante Samuel, guys like that. Man, Brian Dawkins he'll put a hat on you. If you
Man,
don't know who he is, he'll let you know who he is. If he's
man.
not breaking the ball up, if he's not catching an interception, if you catching a ball in the secondary and you're in front of him, oh, you're gonna know who it is.
Yeah.
Brian Dawkins, man, class act, great player. Like, there's just so much you could say about him as a player. he
Yeah.
kept that defensive line. Probably one of the greatest safeties that doesn't get talked about ever.
Ever.
Even when he went to Denver, still was a good key contributor. Man, for the Eagles, like he's forever loved in Philly just for what he did for that city and what he did for that team. Man, one of the greatest ever.
I agree. I agree, man. I like me some B Dog, man. Yeah, man, that's a good list, man. I ain't even gonna lie, man. Some of them dudes I should have put on my list too. But like I said, man, I love the fact that you gave Champ Bailey some love, man, especially with that with in NFC East, because Champ Bailey don't get that love. He was damn good, man. What a player. Like, dude, I just wouldn't have traded him to the Broncos, man, to get Clint Portis, because they had other issues with
I
in
think they were just
Washington
trying
this
to get
year.
that offense going.
Yeah, like yeah, I get it.
But
I do.
still,
I understand, but it's
but I
just
wouldn't have traded him, dude. He was so good. And imagine if
yeah,
he
but
could have
that's
been
like the
that
only
good.
player you could
Well,
have traded Champ Bailey for at the time. Like that made
yeah.
sense. Because the Clint Portis was coming. This is our closing argument segment, by the way. But the only player that you could trade Clint Portis for was Champ Bailey, or vice versa, because
Because
people
they were
mistake.
both young, proven guys who, I mean, I
Yeah,
guess they wanted to drop off. I guess they were like, look, I guess we'd rather lose or compete having a Pro Bowl running back compared to a corner. But man, imagine if those years he put in Denver, he could have put in with them. Oh man,
yeah,
they could have went to
because he
be
had
so much
like
better.
three.
Denver was irrelevant. Man, he could have really helped turn that defense around if he could have stayed longer.
But you know what? Even looking past Champ Bailey and Clint Porter's trade, look how many running backs came behind him with 1,000 yards though after he left. Like I said,
Yeah, just not to the same degree. Like I
yeah,
think he was just different.
but I'm just thinking
Yeah,
about like just the fact
like
that
no Sean Moreno, Melvin
Like
Gordon.
yeah, man, Mike Bell, or Mike
Mm-hmm.
Bell, Tatum Bell, one of them guys.
Yep.
And then Reuben Drones had 1,000, and then he ended up parlaying that into a big
Didn't
deal.
Travis Henry play for Denver too at one point?
Maybe
Or was it
later,
Buffalo just?
but Travis Henry played for the Bills. I remember him with the Bills more so
Yeah.
than anything else. But he might have played with them later, because a lot of players went to Denver later on in their career to play.
Mm-hmm.
But most definitely, I agree, man. Great list.
Man,
Um,
you know who? You know one Broncos player doesn't get talked about enough, but it was actually really good. Brandon Stokely.
but okay, all right. So look, I break Brandon Stokely into three categories, because he had a beginning where he was, a really good player, good slot guy with the Ravens, right? People don't understand he was on the Ravens first.
Mm-hmm.
And then he had this insane peak with Indianapolis. And like he was the premier guy, man. I mean, him, Reggie Wayne, and Marvin Harrison,
Harrison.
like that was a crazy offense, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then you have the back end of his career where he's still real good. And like he's still solid, you know what I'm saying? And then he with Denver. So like he had a career of just being a great receiver, man. Like a
Very
great,
underrated, dude. Nobody talks about him.
like
And
as
didn't go
far
to a
as
big school. He went to UL. He didn't go to a big premier D1 school.
yeah,
The
so
same thing with Jake Delhomme. I
he
mean,
just balled out, man. And then another good slot receiver that don't get no love is Ricky Pro, man. Ricky
yeah,
Pro from the Rams
yeah.
and the Panthers.
But no, Pro. Okay, I'm thinking of who's that other white guy that played for the Jets? I forget his freaking name. It's some other guy. I don't know why I thought Pro L was there. Somebody else.
No, 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 no. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ricky Pro was nice, bro.
Yeah,
Nice.
that was when they had Musa Muhammad, and then Pro L was like the third guy.
Yep, 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 yep. That was my dog, man. He had a big catch in the NFC Championship game against that crazy the Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that they were about to ascend into their Super Bowl form. And they were the only team to really stop the greatest show on turf. And they almost
Mhm.
did. They held us to 13 points. In
Sure.
fact, the only problem is they couldn't score more than 9.
It's good when your defense can hold an
and
offense, but if your offense stinks, then
they was winning that game 9-6 going into the fourth quarter. And Kurt Warner threw this crazy lob pass into the corner of the end zone. And there's Ricky Pro dragging him feet in the end zone. Touchdown.
I feel like most people don't remember him being there. Most people will always associate him with Carolina.
Yeah, man. Like I said, man, look, that was a good era, man, to be in, dog. The 90s in NFL was fun, man. Like that was a good era to be in. You had some good teams, man. Obviously the Cowboys kind of dominated things early on, but once
Man, the 49ers were good in between that time too with Steve Young. Like people don't talk about how good Steve Young was for the 49ers at that time because everybody
people
thought
don't talk about how good Steve Young was, period.
Because they thought they were going to have a drop off because Montana left. I'm like, oh, we're screwed. And then Steve Young comes in. He's like, shit, watch me. I can throw it left-handed, but I can get it done.
Man, I can tear this stuff up. Man, that was like some of their best teams offensively throughout their whole dynasty is the Steve Young years. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong. I like Joe Montana. He's very clutch. But in terms of
Young could scramble.
Yeah, but in terms of excitement, like, Steve Young was way more exciting, dude. Like he just was.
He could extend plays. He didn't have to sit in the pocket and he was kind of like how, not the same, but you know how Aaron Rodgers, he rolls out and he'll stop on a dime and he'll just sling it. Like kind of like that, knowing how to extend plays and make the offense keep moving even if it doesn't want to.
Yeah, that's how John Elway was too early in his career. John Elway was very athletic. So, but yeah, John Elway was definitely like that too. Like they having those quarterbacks that can play like that, or it's definitely gonna help you win a lot more times than you lose. Because sometimes plays just don't go as planned, so you need to do something else. So I agree.
Improvising.
Most definitely. So definitely great list, great episode, great breakdown. Obviously this concludes our breakdown of the NFC. We've hit on all the conferences, divisions out here, and we had some great discussions, man. So, like I said, man, this has come to the end. A very special episode, episode 10. We love making this content, man. This is awesome talking about sports. Just two guys that love it. So before we get up out of here, anything you gotta say, man?
All I'm gonna say is just be patient. We're done with the NFC, so just make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you don't like. Be very open and transparent about it. But we're about to move into the loaded AFC. So much more to talk about than the NFC. Great quarterback play, great teams, a lot more storylines and diversity going on. So just stay patient. Just be along for the ride.
Yeah, and like I said, we're gonna get into the AFC. I can't wait. Obviously, I'm a Ravens fan. Brandon is with the Patriots, so we have a lot to talk about. Some great games between both of our teams. So we want to get into this AFC. It's going to be very fun. And like I said, like, subscribe, and keep following, man, because we're gonna keep the content coming, man. But
yes,
like I said, we're up out of here. I'll see you next time.
Yes, sir.